Uh, my name is Mark Brown. I teach visual art here at Jones County Junior College. Been here for a couple of years and really enjoyed my time here. Previous experience, I've been at the Warren Rogers Museum of Art and for 8 years and ran their education programs, which has really benefited me in the classroom here, particularly in art history. The museum is a great resource, and I bring all of my classes to the museum. And specifically, one of the things that we discuss that's not in our textbook is the Degenerate Art Exhibition, which takes place in 1937. It took place in Germany. Hitler had blamed many of the modern artists and modern thinkers, in particular German expressionist artists, for the loss of World War I. And as he rose to power, he really had it in for these guys. So he thought that the best way to show how ridiculous that their artwork was to have a compare and contrast. The first Nazi building project under Hitler's rule was the House of German Art. This particular building housed work that was objectified females, really showed the real Aryan side, permanence, classicalism of the Third Reich. Across the street from there, he held what was called the Degenerate Art Exhibition, which featured degenerate artists, as he put it. Degenerate, that term today, we can use it really with has little negative connotation to it, but at that time it was ubiquitous with other things. If you were labeled degenerate, you were communist, you were Jewish, no matter what your political affiliation was. Also, it meant that you were insane. Hitler banned abstraction. He outlawed any tonal dissonance as far as music was concerned, so jazz or any improvisational music was outlawed. And so he had other things which ridiculed modern music as well. The degenerate artists, the ones that were in the show, there were 160 works shown, and only I think only 6 of the artists were actually Jewish. But again, that labeled them as many things if they were labeled degenerate. It drove this particular exhibition. It must be noted that it was the single most attended art exhibition still to this day. More than 4 million people saw this particular show. Some people going along with the Nazi Party and ridiculing the work. Others knew that it would be the last time that they'd see some of these images. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. They didn't know what was going to happen to the artists. Ultimately, many of the artists, they immigrated to the United States, some of them to other parts of Europe. Some of them, one of them in particular, had a guard placed around him to keep him from painting, which is just a real unbelievable aspect of the thing, that Hitler went to these great lengths to stomp out this imaginative work. Others, unfortunately, committed suicide. A couple of them after destroying their own work, their life's work. One in particular artist had to send his children outside of the house many times to make sure that there was not too much smoke coming from the chimney, because it would attract attention that he was burning his documents and burning his paintings. Ultimately, Hitler realized that these works of art would be valuable to others, so he auctioned them off, and of course the money went into Nazi Party coffers rather than really doing anything good with it. Many of these pieces actually made it to Harvard University. Harvard had, it was shut down at the time, this particular area where Harvard acquired these. It was called the Center for the Study of German Culture, and they very quietly began to acquire these works, and they're at Harvard today. Of course, after anti-German sentiment stopped after World War II, people were gladly, very accepting of these works, and they're still there now. This is just one of the subjects that I like to cover in my class, and you're just kind of scratching the surface and just kind of an overview of what we do. But I like to pull in supplemental material for my students, and in particular, this is one thing that's not mentioned very much in the textbooks. And again, it was the single most attended art exhibit in art history. So I find it very important. It's very intriguing to the students, and it also teaches us a lesson about what can happen and how important free speech is to us. No matter if we like it or don't like it, free speech and free expression is vitally important, especially to the artistic process.